I started to trade when I was in college. Every morning we were getting up, making $50, $100, which was a pretty decent money as a student that you are making. Then I developed the whole portfolio up to 40,000. And then on the night of a financial market crash, I lost everything. And I ended up owing $10,000 to the broker.
I hear it all the time. One strategy, stick to one coin, one pair. Do you think that's the best way to go?
I think every single particular individual is very different. What strategy and what rules and what fundamentals are going to be working for me, they will not work for you. So you will have to find your own niche. You will have to find where you settle the most in terms of the risk and stick to that one. I think XRP from risk to reward perspective is very, very important right now. Gold prices, obviously, they had a huge bull run in 2024 because of the monetary policy, central banks buying them, people shifting away from US tariff, the US banking system, and the talk of BRICS coming up with their own currency. With Trump being in the office, the momentum will break.
All right, guys, we got the second podcast of the day here. We're with Naeem, who's from London. This guy's been trading for 20 years. So please share your story on how you found your pathway into trading. What's your whole story?
Sure. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast with yourselves. So pretty much 20 years in the trading. I have worked as a hedge fund trader, but I'll just go back a little bit how I started it. I started to trade when I was in college. And a lot of inspiration came from the cousin who was the head of hedge fund sales for Morgan Stanley. And I was at university studying there. So this is going back in 2004, 2005. It was a massive bull market before the huge crash happened. So I got into stocks and then I started to invest in them. And then every morning we were getting up, making $50, $100, which was a pretty decent money as a student that you are making. Then I developed the whole portfolio up to 40,000. And then on the night of a financial market crash, I lost everything. And I ended up owing $10,000 to the broker, which was Charles Schwab at the time.
Wow.
Yes. Believe it or not, because I didn't know what we were doing, in a way, the importance of the risk management, the importance of the market manipulations that could happen, the importance of the liquidity, and in the importance how leverage could be so bad while it can also be so good for you. Although I was studying at the university at the time, and then I was studying finance and equity markets, all of that. But that was the first time that I experienced a huge crash. And as my brother said, he said, well, you've learned an expensive lesson, but at a very early stage of your career while you were still in college and in university. And then now this is going to really build your foundation. And I think it couldn't be right, because from there onwards, I went back and I started to do everything very differently. My career took off. I started to work for a pension funds, then for a hedge fund, for a Bank of New York Mellon, equities trading with Bank of America. Now it's been 20 years I've been trading and trading across all asset classes, whether it is your Forex, whether it's your stocks, futures, or cryptos. So that is very much briefly the 20 years of history.
That's really an amazing story. And it's really beautiful how, most failures, which might be the biggest failures at the time, is what really makes you sprout.
Yes.
So talking about trading, you say you trade in a bunch of different industries, Forex, crypto. What do you think is the best industry to be in right now for trading?
But, everything depends on your own taste, your own appetite of trading, because you may have an appetite and stomach for a bigger trading volatility. And then someone else on the other side may be very much risk averse. So they may not be wanting to go into that particular asset class. But if you like action, and then you can't be sitting there and waiting when the corporate actions are going to be taking place, i.e. when the earnings will come, when the earnings updates will come, when we will see that, okay, the Tesla's new car, how much they have made and all of that, then you perhaps be much better going into Forex market, because throughout the week, you've got so much different economic data coming out. On top of that, you got politics. Here you got politicians sitting and talking about it. And that has a huge implication because you're looking at a fiscal side of arguments and then you're looking at the monetary policy side of the argument at the same time. That creates huge amount of opportunities throughout the day for you to trade. Now, if you are someone who's saying that, you know what, my friend made so many X's in blah, 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 then yes, sure, you could dabble with certain small percentage of your capital in the crypto market, i.e. the meme coins or whatever, which I do not recommend, but it is okay if it is a very, very small percentage, less than a 1% of your portfolio. Otherwise, within the blockchain space, within the crypto space, you should stick to the ones where there is an actual use of that. Yes, of course, you can argue, look, there's an actual use of a meme coins because the use is the speculation of that. And that is perfect. But do you really want to bet your entire capital just on the speculation? Perhaps not. So maybe you just wanted to go for no more than 1%. But the rest of that you should look at, for example, XRP. And I'm sure a lot of people who'll be watching this podcast, and if they are into XRP, they're going to go very, very hyper. I think, like, XRP hasn't had a good time for a long period of time. They had SEC against them. They had no real use of that particular currency. Now they have RLUSD, which clearly states where it is going to go. Before, it was a cross-border payments within the uh, uh, networks or certain banks where they were trying and testing them. But now things have evolved much, much further from there onwards. Now you will see Ripple not only coming from its SEC's change, the SEC put on, but becoming an American company with a stable coin behind it, and where perhaps Trump will favor more XRP and Ripple because it's an American company, and perhaps maybe put more tariffs or some transaction taxes for companies which are not based in the United States, and i.e. Tether could be one of them. But USDC and RLUSD, XRP will become very, very important. So in cutting the long story short, so it's like main crypto assets like XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other similar projects that you wanted to focus on more as an investment idea or as a trading idea and trade on that one. So to round it off, if you are looking for volatility and then you have a stomach, then you can certainly go into that area. Otherwise, stick to stocks. And within the stocks, the most important thing is find out where you have the best leverage, i.e., the best amount of education or experience. For example, your background. What's your background, Sween?
I mean, my background is, I would like to say creative, like entrepreneurship, but I would say my strongest is sales, communication.
Okay, which industry that you worked in the most?
Uh, I would say tech and insurance.
Okay,
Yeah,
you will understand insurance more than anyone else because you've been in the sales industry. You know exactly what factors impact them, and especially with the fire in California, you will know that how insurance companies would operate and stuff like that. So that is your niche. So you wanted to trade tech companies, you wanted to trade insurance companies, and for people watching that, if you are working for a pharmaceutical, you will know more about that particular industry than anyone else. So try to find stocks, asset classes within that field and make yourself expert within that area.
for sure. So you think as a new trader coming into the industry, you think it's best? I hear it all the time. One strategy, stick to one coin, one pair. Do you think that's the best way to go?
I think every single particular individual is very different. What strategy and what rules and what fundamentals are going to be working for me, they will not work for you. And so you will have to find your own niche. You will have to find where you settle the most in terms of the risk and stick to that one. So for me, that is the most important thing.
I like that. And talking about crypto, Trump's obviously coming into
Yeah.
office now. Bitcoin has broke 100K. It's a little bit lower now.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the future of Bitcoin? Do you think that with Trump in office, he's talked about he wants to make a reserve for Bitcoin? Do you think it's possible for Bitcoin to hit $1 million?
Yeah. Okay. Look, three things needs to happen in terms of this thing to really skyrocket. Number one, in America, with Trump being in the office, we need to have less regulations in within that. Meaning, the banks which are holding Bitcoin or which will be holding Bitcoins should not be classified as a liability anymore. Okay? Cannot be a liability. If they will change this rule, I don't know the exact ruling number for that one right now on top of my head, that will change things massively because then banks can come, they will hold just like how they hold dollars in their account, and then they say this is not a liability, this is an asset. And if they will start classifying that as an asset rather than a liability, then that means more banks are actually interested in that space. Number two, as you mentioned, Bitcoin Reserve. We know that is going to happen. Trump is going to put the P committee together to do that. And then with that one, we will see domino effect throughout the world. Not only US, but other countries will adopt that as well. Number three, again, within the United States, you should look at from the capital gain perspective. If you have dollars in your account, you do not pay capital gain tax on the dollar. So why? And then you use the dollar to go out and then purchase things, right? So you could use Bitcoin to go out and then purchase things. So why are we paying capital gain tax on a Bitcoin as well? So that needs to be changed as well from the perspective. I think if these three fall in place, we will have a much better future for that. But regardless of that, what has already happened with Trump being in the office, I am very optimistic. And for disclaimer purposes, yes, I do hold them and I've been holding them for a very long period of time, these crypto assets. So obviously, some of my views could be sounding very biased, but I have been a pro Bitcoin for a long period of time.
How long has it been?
It's been a very long time.
What year? Come on.
It's been a very long time.
Okay, okay. So talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, for someone coming into the crypto industry, what do you think is the best investment to go? I mean, not financial advice, but what do you think is what coin has the most potential to be number one?
Yeah, I think I've alluded to that idea right now earlier in our conversation, and I'll say to you right now as well. I think XRP from risk to reward perspective is very very important right now, and I think it has huge legs to the upside. People do say that it will go to $10. People do say they will go to $15. But one thing that I want you guys to very much understand that look at the market cap as of now and it's trading at 2.6, 2.5 in around that particular boundary mark. And then look at the trading, the market cap of the most important company in the United States, which is Apple, with the highest market cap. So if you think the Ripple's market cap is going to become bigger than Apple, and at what price is that going to go, that will give you an indication how high this thing can really go, and then what is the reality in terms of a target for you to look at. I was thinking when this RLUSD or everything was coming out, and then people were talking about it, I was thinking of selling huge amount of Ethereum, which I hold, and then transfer all that fund to XRP because obviously the prospects of doubling or 2x or 3x are a lot more higher in terms of XRP in comparison to Ethereum. Whether that we will see a 3x on Ethereum soon, or whether we will see a 2x or 3x on XRP, I will put my money on XRP. So I have done some recalibration within my portfolio because I think XRP does have a serious credibility now. And then I think tailwind price momentum is very much strong.
Wow, that's really amazing advice. You're so knowledgeable. And so talking about crypto, they say that Bitcoin is more scarce than gold. What are your thoughts about gold, the gold industry?
Yeah. So gold prices, obviously, they had a huge bull run in 2024 because of the monetary policy, central banks buying them, people shifting away from US tariff, the US banking system, and the talk of BRICS coming up with their own currency. With Trump being in the office, not that I'm a pro-Trump or I'm against Trump, but I'm just speaking from the facts. The momentum will break. The momentum that we've experienced in the last 4 years against the dollar, against the dominated financial system from America, that will break down in terms of its momentum. because he's going to say very simple. He's going to say, okay, you're going to do this. I'm going to put this much tariff on you. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this to you. As simple as that. There are no other conversations with him. So I think with that said, I think that is going to have an adverse impact in terms of gold prices. Now, gold prices had a huge upside because of the monetary policy over in the with the Federal Reserve cutting the interest rate. I think in 2025, we're going to see less of that reaction coming into 2025 as well, because I think currently the market is anticipating only 2 interest rate cuts in comparison to what the expectations were before. Inflation is still moving to the upside and is still very much challenging and troublesome for the Federal Reserve. So that would keep a lid in terms of how high gold price would go. Will it touch 3,000? Will it go to 2,800? I think that still remains on the card. But I think I am more skewed towards the bearish side of the argument rather than to the bullish side. Or more importantly, more of a consolidation period for gold after a huge bull run.
Yeah, whatever comes up must come down.
Yeah.
So talking about this kind of, I want to get your opinion on the whole U.S. economy, just in a whole standpoint. We've been printing a lot of money. I'm not as educated into everything as you, but like, do you think there's a big crash coming? What's your overall thoughts about the economy?
So over the last 20 years, being in the industry, listening to the industry, reading everything, and then speaking on that, writing on these particular topics, I think US markets are in a very, very unique position right now. Once, yes, we had a huge bull run for the US equity market in 2024. And for an investor perspective who is really coming into the market and looking at things, they may think, oh, you know what? We had such a high bull run and we wanted to wait for a crash to happen and then we will go and buy that, right? And from a theoretical perspective, that makes 100% sense because you don't want it to buy things when they are high and then end up, holding the bag at the end of the day. That's certainly you don't want to do. A lot of time in my own experience, I have put more money. I'm sitting most of the time 70% cash when the markets are too high or too expensive. And I deploy my old capital, then this is excluding leverage, when the market falls more than 25%. S&P is clearly in the bear market territory. That is when we start to deploy. When it falls to 30%, then we start to deploy leverage as well in our portfolios. So currently, the prospects of that bigger crash happening, the scenarios are not there for that clearly. So a crash will happen. But if you look at from a geopolitical angle, you could certainly see some votes being wrought. For example, the comments about the 51st state, the comments about Greenland, the comments about, okay, how the tariffs are really going to be imposed with various different governments. So China continues to remain an important market. And I think the episode 2 and the season 2 version of Trump being in the office is going to have it's going to have a better relationship with China in comparison to the previous one. So I am bullish on MSI China at the same time as well. But I think do not deploy the whole capital if you are going for the US markets. Wait for a correction to take place. The correction could take place perhaps on the back of the market stance that the Federal Reserve is not going to be too much bearish, so much dovish in relation to that. But we have a Trump in the office who could put pressure on the Fed and then ask them, you know what, start cutting the rates. And I think that's when we're going to see a lot of volatility coming into the market.
I see. And so what's your best advice to traders going into 2025? What should they really be looking out for? I don't know if you already said this already, but what should they really be looking out for?
Sure. So I think in 2025 is going to be a very exciting year, of course, from the cryptos perspective. The next 90 days from his inauguration are going to be very important. He's going to be setting up the policies. So watch the promises for the first 100 days from the President Trump and what he's going to say about crypto markets and then how the trade policies are going to be implemented. A lot of that has already been factored in from the business perspective, but from a market perspective, I don't think that's been clear. Let's see if Donald Trump is actually going to go hard on the Federal Reserve. Currently, there are only expectations for 2 interest rate cuts. But can he push the hand further? Can he make the Fed to cut interest rates more aggressively? He is certainly pro dovish monetary policy president, and that is what we should see. And if that happens, the US stock market would have another stellar year. If not, we're going to see a correction.
So bullish or bearish on Trump?
I think generally I would be more bullish on Trump given his recent remarks and what he has done. But let's hope that he doesn't really rock boats in a way that it creates instability throughout the world. Because if you are going to apply economic forces on a sovereign country to become your 51st state, then we could see a replica of that taking place around the world. And the first scenario which comes on top of my head is China taking Taiwan. The second one, India taking Nepal. So there's going to be so many different countries which could easily follow the same pattern.
For sure, for sure. And I guess the industry we haven't touched on yet, it's Forex. What are your favorite currency pairs to trade?
Sterling, I've been very much vocal about it, that I think with Elon Musk talking about dictating things to a larger extent, how and who should be in power in the UK has created instability in the market. The debt cost has started to rise, currency has started to plummet, and I can easily see sterling dollar falling to 118, the previous lows that we've seen during the Truss government. There's a stronger possibility that the government will change in the United Kingdom as well, as people will lose confidence. But whichever government comes next is going to be even more important for the markets, whether it's going to be far right or far left or whoever will come. And if there are far right, perhaps it won't be very good for the markets at all. In terms of euro, I think euro dollar parity is strongly on the cards. I think dollar is going to continue to become stronger because with the Federal Reserve's monetary policy, unless Trump begins to intervene. European Central Bank has a lot of challenges within the Eurozone, and they are unlikely to become hawkish, although we would experience a pause in the current interest rate cutting cycle.
Wow. Well, listen, you have really amazing advice. Naeem, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Where can people find you? Because you're a really interesting person and you're full
Thank
of
you.
wisdom,
Thank
20
you.
years of experience.
Thank you. So the Twitter handle are going to be shown on the screen. So it's Naeem Aslam 23, and that's the same on Instagram. So do follow, and always happy for collaborations.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.